Alright guys, welcome back to the second part of my budget video editing PC build. If you didn't check out the first part, go ahead and check that out. I'll leave a link below. But last time we got up to the point of getting our motherboard built up before we can get that put in the PC. So without further delay, let's go ahead and get into that. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the CPU we're going to be using for this build. So I've gone with a Ryzen 5 5600G. And the reason I went with the 5600G is for two reasons. One, I'm trying to keep this build relatively low cost, and graphics cards are super expensive right now, if you can even find them. And the other reason is I'm not going to be doing any gaming, at least not right away with this PC. So having the integrated graphics should be perfectly fine for editing video and content for the channel. We're going to be sticking with the stock cooler that comes with the CPU here. Probably not the best looking cooler in the world, but it's gonna do for now. It's not terrible. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and load up our RAM sticks here. For RAM, I ended up going with these Crucial Ballistix ARGB. This is a 16 gigabyte kit, 2 sticks of 8 gigabyte RAM. It's in DDR4 3600. I think this should be plenty to start off with. If I need to upgrade and or add more later on down the road, I will. Next up, let's go ahead and talk about storage. So for our primary operating system hard drive, we're going with this Samsung 970 Evo Plus. It's an M.2 solid state drive. And as far as my workflow is going to be for this PC, this is going to be for the operating system and all my programs. No other junk files or anything will be going on this to keep it running as fast as possible. All my projects and all other, bulk files and everything will be going onto this Western Digital Blue 500 gigabyte SSD. And then from there, I'm going to add two 4 terabyte Seagate drives into the case. I don't have those right now. Not going to need them for a bit. With this amount of space here, this should last me for a good chunk of time until I can go ahead and get the hard drives for archiving video footage loaded up in the case. Alright guys, so with that everything is put together, and fingers crossed, hopefully everything works here. So let's go ahead and power it on and see if everything boots up right. Well, that's a good sign. Everything's lighting up. So right now it's got some LEDs on the motherboard, and it lets you know what it's doing. Alright, so everything's looking good so far. PC booted up what appears to be just fine. I have it here in the BIOS screen now. So it's detecting both sticks of RAM, both showing up exactly as they should. It's showing our M.2, Samsung 970 EVO, and our Western Digital 500 gigabyte solid state drive. I'm just a little thrown off here because it's showing SanDisk solid state drive. I'll have to look into that. I don't know if maybe SanDisk owns Western Digital or what's up with that. So I guess there's nothing left to do now but go ahead and install Windows 10. What I didn't do was try to double check which drive it wants to install to, so I'm hoping that it knows to install directly to the M.2 and not the solid state drive. Alright guys, so that's it. Everything's set up, computer's running. I've actually been using it for about a week now. Most of this video I edited through this new setup, and it's light years better than the laptop I was using. Everything is so much faster. Render times in the video editing program is just hands down, you can't even compare the speed. And I'm super happy with this setup. One thing I did want to do is I just wanted to walk through a couple of troubleshooting things that I had going on initially when I was using this, and I seem to have resolved them all now. Take into consideration that I'm not like a tech pro or anything. Some of these fixes may have been coincidental, just through trying some things out, but I'm pretty sure I have it nailed down on what I did to fix these. So if you're using any major components from this setup, whether it's the MAG B550 Tomahawk motherboard or the Ryzen 5600G, you may need to take into consideration these fixes. So the first fix that I had to do was simple, but I kind of stumbled on it by accident, and that was my fans were just running, my case fans were just running constantly. They were really loud. After I had everything installed up, I installed MSI's Dragon Center, and I noticed that when I went into the fan management, I could adjust fan speed, but nothing was happening with the fans. They weren't responding. So let me go ahead and walk you through how to set that up, and I'll tell you what was going on. Alright, so you're going to start with the PC shutdown. Go ahead and power it on, and you're just going to press the delete key as it powers on until you get to the BIOS screen. Pressing the delete key is going to get you into that BIOS screen. Alright, so here we are at the BIOS. The first thing it's going to start up with, it's going to show you your CPU information. So come on over here on the left to fan info, and over here on system fan, you're going to click this little gear up here for settings, and you want to look right over here. You're going to have two choices, PWM or DC. This motherboard defaults to DC power, so your fans are just going to run direct current when you're first set up. So go ahead and switch that over to PWM, and you'll immediately hear your fans power down a little bit. Now they're able to be controlled. Fan speed's going to be able to be controlled based on CPU temperature, case temperature, and things like that. So that was the first very simple fix. A little annoying at first when you're not sure why your fans are running so high. Once you figure it out, very simple fix. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to close out here. No changes, just hit yes. We're going to boot back up, and I'm going to show you the other thing There was a much larger issue that I had going on, but again, a very simple fix. So what I had going on was, when the computer, I have it set to go to sleep after 10 minutes, and when the computer would go to sleep, it would go to sleep like normal, with the exception that the case fans would stay running, which I'm not a PC pro, I don't use a lot of PCs, so I didn't really know if that was right or wrong. But then at some point while the computer would be asleep, it would shut down, but it was more of a crash than a shutdown. When you would power it back up, it would be stuck. The computer wouldn't go to post. The fans would again sound like they were a DC current. I'd have no RGB on the RAM sticks. Again, it would be stuck in post. And we can come over here. I'll show you inside the case. It's not lit up right now. I'll probably see if I can circle it in the video. But right there in the center, just above your ATX power connector, there's a little set of LEDs. They're easy debug LEDs, and it would be stuck on CPU. The only thing that would resolve that would be pressing the reset button on the case. Immediately you would hear the fans spin down to where they should be, and then everything would boot properly. In addition to that, I was getting graphics failures. Switching to not really graphics intensive things, but say I'm just browsing the internet and then I pull up a YouTube video. The graphics would crash, it would go all grainy, screen would turn off for a minute, and then everything would come back and you could use it normally. In addition to that sleep mode issue. So what I ended up doing that fixed it, and we'll pull up Dragon Center here. Be sure if you use this board, go ahead and install Dragon Center. Some people hate on it from what I was reading on the internet, but it's pretty cool. Right down here you can control your Mystic Light settings. So this not only gives me just the RGB that's on the motherboard itself, but I can control my RAM sticks and I can control the case fans all through here, so it's pretty convenient. But what we want to come over here is on the left side, we want to go to support. This program's good for just your basic drivers, so you can scan, and this is what I did initially when I first set up the motherboard. You'll have a whole bunch of drivers here to install and update. The only thing left here is the Norton Security, which I don't want, so that's still sitting there. But what you want to do is come over here to Advanced, and it's going to scan again. Nothing's going to show on mine, but when I did it, it showed a BIOS update. Mine showed up as A.50 as the current BIOS, with the recommended being the A.70. I did do a little research on the internet, which turned up a lot of people saying don't use Dragon Center to flash a new BIOS, and they said absolutely don't do that. So I'm going to walk you through how to flash the BIOS. It's pretty simple, but we'll go ahead and do that. So we're going to close out of Dragon Center, we're going to pull up the internet, and we're going to go to MSI's website. And I usually will search MSI BIOS because sometimes their initial page is a little hard to navigate. So then come down here to MSI BIOS, and right down here at the bottom you're going to see support. So you're going to go to Downloads, find your product, motherboards. This is the MAG series, and we are the B550 Tomahawk. Search, and you're going to come here to BIOS. Now, what we have here, you're going to see there's this beta version. I don't know. I didn't like the idea of running a beta. It looks like mainly it's set up to optimize Windows 11, which I'm not running. So instead, I just came down and we went with this BIOS here, just underneath this one. So what you're going to do is on your little red circle here, you're going to click Download, and it's going to come up into your downloads. So we need to, let's eject this. If I out of the USB 3.0, this card reader, and we're gonna install a empty USB drive. All right, so I actually had to go find an empty USB drive, but here we go. So we have an empty USB drive here. We can see it's the E drive. So we're gonna come back up here to our downloads. We're gonna open our file location. It's a zipped file, so we're going to right click. We're going to extract all right to the USB drive E here. Select folder, extract, and that'll do its thing. And we've got that folder now on our USB drive. So we can go ahead and close out of everything and go ahead and shut down the computer. And we'll go ahead and power it back on. And just like before, we're going to press delete until the BIOS screen comes up. And now we're at the BIOS screen. You're going to want to come down here to mFlash. This is going to come up, say system will reboot after flash mode. Do you want to enter flash mode? Yes. So your PC is going to reboot. I'm not sure how far through this process I'm going to be able to walk you, because I don't actually need to reboot or reflash the BIOS, but I'll show you as much as I can. Yeah, and so this is probably as far as we're gonna go. But down here at the bottom, it'll show your current BIOS. Again, here's the version 0.70. And then if you were to hover on here, you click that top one, that was the USB drive, and come down, highlighting it down here at the bottom will again show you that this is the exact same BIOS. From here on out, it's pretty self-explanatory. If I click that, yeah, I don't want to go any further than this. So basically you would click yes. Outside of that, you just follow the on-screen prompts. Once it goes to flash the BIOS, it's going to lock the computer. You can't use your keyboard or your mouse. Don't touch the power, obviously. Don't touch the USB, obviously. Just let it do its thing, and it will shut down and restart with the new BIOS. And so far, so good. I've been using the computer for probably 4 or 5 days now. Very light stuff, internet, email, YouTube, things like that. I haven't done any video editing to really test the graphics and make sure they're not crashing anymore, but I haven't experienced any issues. The other thing I noticed is now it actually seems as though the PC is actually going to sleep now. What I mean by that is, instead of it going to sleep and the case fan's still running, the case fans, everything shuts off, and then my little blue power indicator on the top of the case just slowly pulses blue, which makes it seem like the entire time before it really wasn't actually going into sleep mode, being that the fans were still running. And I'm assuming that's why it was crashing, because it wasn't properly going into sleep mode. But like I said, everything seems beautiful now. No issues whatsoever with a little under a week's worth of use after the flashing of the new BIOS. If you're having any of those issues, go ahead and follow those steps, flash your BIOS to the newer version, and you should be golden. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you're building your own editing PC on a budget, hopefully you found something useful from this video. Like always, please subscribe to the channel. Feel free to hit that like button, and feel free to leave a comment below. Thanks.